Great game. The Cowboys have returned to playoff prominence. They were 11-5 a year ago, and only 3 years before that they were a 1-15 team. They have really turned it around. The Washington Redskins, you know about them. You know them well. They beat, of course, Buffalo in the Super Bowl 26-37-24. They're stronger, if anything, Al Michaels. They're solid in management. They have great coaching, but after they lost that final preseason game to Minnesota 30-0, you get the feeling there are a lot of concern because they played the regulars right into the fourth quarter.
And Frank, they also play in very clearly the toughest division in the National Football League, the NFC East. So you can make a case, even though it's a long season, for the four most important games on the Redskins' schedule this year, the two against Philadelphia and the two against Dallas, including, of course, the one tonight. Another reason it's significant tonight for Washington, they were not only bad, as Frank said, during preseason, but abysmal against Minnesota. If they win tonight, then the preseason becomes what it should be, meaningless ancient history. If they lose tonight, then you go home and you go, is something wrong here? Is there a bigger problem? So a big game, even though it's opening night for the Skins against the Dallas team, Dan, 2 years ago. They win 1, then they win 7, then they win 11. What next?
What's next? Well, to listen to Jimmy Johnson and the folks who live here in Dallas, it's nothing less than an appearance in the National Football Conference championship game. Lofty goals, but no team in the league has their star rising quite as quickly as this Dallas Cowboys squad. Now, Jimmy Johnson is the first to say, this is a better team now than I had here a year ago. But a reality check is here tonight in the form of the defending Super Bowl champion Redskins. But watch out. If by chance Dallas should win this game tonight, then I guess a lot of people will say about America's team, rightfully so, Texas Stadium is a bad place to be if you're another club in the NFL.
And it is the only place to be in the Metroplex tonight because a crowd of 65,000 looks on in a much anticipated game. This area talking about the game since the day the schedule was announced. Here we go. Washington and Dallas with Chip Lohmiller kicking off for the Redskins. And Lohmiller booms one into the end zone, and it is now there by Alexander Wright. The Cowboys will begin their first drive of the season from the 20. Troy Aikman, who has now developed into one of the premier quarterbacks in the National Football League. A lot of people think shortly he will be the best. Fully recovered from a knee injury sustained late last year. Emmitt Smith is terrific. Led the league in rushing. Johnston is the blocker and sometime receiver. Martin and Harper start as the wideouts, and Novacek the tight end. Michael Irvin has signed. We will see him. 2-A Newton. Cornish is in the middle. Giesick and Williams. The guy they're missing, Mark Stepnoski, their top center, just signed, but not in uniform. They might have him back next week against the Giants. Aikman to Smith, and we'll see this a lot tonight as Emmitt moves to the left side and is out of bounds at the 24-yard line, and a late flag is thrown after a 4-yard gain. So a penalty at the outset. The referee tonight is Dick Hantak, and that 4-yard gain will be negated on a holding call against Johnson's Cowboys. So Hantak getting the call from the head linesman who threw the flag, Terry Gerke.
Holding. Offense. Number 83. 10-yard penalty. Repeat the down. First down.
That's Kelvin Martin, who had a great camp and thus got the start tonight. Mann, Wilson, Johnson, and Stokes up front. A three-man linebacking core of Marshall, Govea for the retired Millen and Andre Collins. And three of those guys were Plan B guys, Mayu, Copeland, and Edwards. Green, of course, is the perennial All-Pro. The crowd responds because here's Michael Irvin. Not in on the first play, but in on the second. It is 1st and 19 from the 11. And Aikman on first down, throwing incomplete, intended for Alvin Harper, the tall second-year wide receiver out of Tennessee, covered by Mayu. It'll be 2nd down and 19.
Good coverage by Washington. Govea, a very active middle linebacker, was back into the coverage and forced Aikman to throw over his coverage, and he underthrew Irvin. Irvin has only practiced a couple of days. It'll be interesting to see how he holds up. And again, it was 94 degrees just prior to kickoff outside and warmer now in the field.
And this stadium is very still. There is no air movement. through the middle. Emmitt Smith, he gets to the 14. It will be 3rd down and 16. Bobby Wilson makes the tackle. Wilson and Tim Johnson starting as the tackles. Eric Williams, who would be a starter for the Redskins, is hurt. He's on injured reserve, and they'll get him back in early October.
I don't think it's going to be any secret that Emmitt Smith, their number 22, is the man the Redskins feel has beaten them when they have lost to the Cowboys. So with Irvin and Novacek, the 2 leading receivers for Dallas, being late arriving, if you're